Welcome to another Beyond the Blue chat. I'm really thrilled to have with me today Dr. Gayatri Rao. Dr. Rao has completed her BHMS in homeopathy from Mumbai University and has 17 years of experience as a homeopathic professional. She's also a Bach flower practitioner and a therapist as well. She's worked with a lot of renowned homeopathic practitioners, and she's dedicated to helping anyone find better health through homeopathy. She offers a holistic approach to better health using a combination of innovative homeopathy and nutritional guidance. And her focus really is on treatment of children with special needs and skin ailments. So thank you so much, Gayatri. I'm not going to call you Dr. Rao because that's just too formal. So welcome. Thank you so much for being here, and really, really excited to find out more about all the exciting work that you're doing.
Yes, thanks, Gopika, for having me here.
Okay, so first, I just want to ask you, because there's such a kind of mystery surrounding homeopathy in a sense. So what exactly does it do? How does homeopathy, in a very simple in simple terms, how does it work on the body?
So it's a very beautiful philosophy, and it's based on a very simple thing where it says that like cures like. So
Okay.
as a homeopath, it's very essential to go through a complete case history, of your patient, and in that we understand not just the physical symptoms for which they want treatment, but we also look at the emotional side of the patient. We go a lot deep into the parents, into the family history, past history, a lot about childhood and all of that. And
Okay.
then once we kind of, get all this information, we come down to this one remedy which fits the person completely in totality.
Okay.
And that is actually the constitutional remedy which does wonders. So you don't just work on just the physical aspect of curing the symptoms, but you
Right.
also look at helping the person in totality. So you're looking at everything, so it's a complete sense of well-being that your patient should be coming back with.
Okay. And with respect to autism, how does it really work on the body? Because I know that it is one of the kind of treatments or therapies that a lot of parents have explored. So how does it work on the body of a child with autism?
So, I want to be very clear on this that homeopathy doesn't cure autism. So, I
Right.
have a lot of parents and, a lot of people coming down and saying that, can you cure his autism? Can
Right.
this be vanished completely? Can he be out of it completely? And it's not the fact, because you can't cure the disability, but
Exactly.
what you can really do is work exclusively on working on the behavioral aspect of the child. So, as in autism, the kids do have certain behavioral traits. So, you can really work very well on that. You can work a lot on the developmental delay the child is going through. So, giving them those essential remedies which help them cope, develop those skill sets better. That's another area where homeopathy in for autism has shown great results. And also, kids on the spectrum tend to have bad gut issues. The digestive system seems always been be a little messy. So we work a lot on that. Also, the sleep aspect, because that's another very important thing, that the child should be sleeping well. If he sleeps well, he behaves well, he understands well, he's able to regulate better. So these are the areas I've seen very good changes with homeopathy. And again, you're not going to be able to remove the autism label from the child, but you can definitely support him a lot with the emotional aspect, that the child is going through.
Tell me a
So
little bit more about this emotional aspect. I want to know a little more about that.
Sure. So, there are a lot of kids who are on the spectrum and who are non-verbal. So, as they're growing older, there can be a lot of frustration and irritation because they're not able to express better. So, you see these kids coming down with a lot of violent and aggressive behavioral patterns. So, you'll have these kids, throwing things, rolling on the floor, hitting, pulling, pushing, biting, all of that. You also have some kids not going into the aggressive bit, but going more into, where this child becomes very numb, is always in his own world,
Like a
doesn't
shutdown almost.
yeah, like a complete shutdown, and not really making that eye contact. So those are the areas where, again, once you understand the emotional issues the child is going through, you can come down with a remedy which would work very holistically on working on these emotional issues. And again, as a homeopath, I believe that what the mother has gone through during pregnancy and after birth, it's very essential to get that history, because that also talks a lot about the stress the mom has been through, or
Okay.
if there's any family issues or whatever. So it's very important to look at it holistically, and not just look at, okay, the child is biting, so how should we stop the biting?
Right.
It's a lot of redirection of the behavioral pattern also. So then also coming down with good therapies to suggest, or ideas and strategies of how to manage that behavioral pattern. So it just goes all hand in hand. It's not about just giving that one remedy. Yeah.
So I want to ask you that, when you talked about a child who is non-verbal, okay, and
Right.
who maybe has all these aggressive behaviors. Now, one way you would look at that would be to look at the mom, what the mom went through during pregnancy
Yeah.
and, immediately post-birth. But in the case of a child who is non-verbal, who is not able to express, because we know that kids with autism find it difficult to express their emotions, their feelings.
Communication.
How,
Yeah.
how would you be able to figure out and work on that particular aspect? How would you be able to figure out what it is that is bothering this child emotionally or impacting this child at the emotional level and work on that?
So sometimes, Gopika, I've realized that after speaking to the parents or some family members, there's a lot of internal, tiff that's going on. So
Right,
sometimes even the parents, the kind of parenting that's being done with that child, that also, affects that child a lot.
right,
So there are some parents who believe that, if the child is just not being able to, hold him down and control him, they start hitting him. So
right,
again, becomes a very dreadful situation for the
right,
child who's non-verbal, who's actually not able to communicate what is happening to him. So
right,
then we look at the other aspect of his symptoms, like what's his diet like, what are his cravings like. So when there's excessive sugar, or sometimes I have kids who desire to have undigestible substances like pica, or just the
right,
wall
right, right.
cement and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So again, a lot of mouthing issues. So we go into that history.
Okay.
And I believe a lot that the gut is our second brain. So if we really can cleanse the gut and support it with the right amount of supplements and prebiotics, which I generally give my patients on the spectrum, and it just makes such a big difference in their behavior. So it's like I said, it's not about just giving that one homeopathic remedy. It's also to holistically look at his diet, his lifestyle, what are his sports activities, is he physically very active at home, all of that. So a lot of counseling and redirection of what the parents have been doing, and then reworking on that aspect.
So this is very interesting because it's really, I think it's homeopathy. I really feel that it's kind of ahead of its time, because now suddenly I think, and especially with the pandemic, there is this whole thing about the body mind connect. Medicine
Yeah.
is becoming more than just prescribing or writing a prescription for a tablet and
Yeah.
giving it to somebody. It's becoming about
Right.
really understanding the patient's psychology, and I think doctors, for them, understanding what the patient is about, understanding not just the physical ailment but also the mental state of a patient, is really
Right.
becoming more and more important. And I think homeopathy has already been doing that for hundreds of years, right?
Yeah.
But can you tell me, I mean, you talked about the gut, but what are the other areas, like when you talk about it physically, what are the areas of the body that homeopathy kind of targets or works on?
So I see a lot of kids on the spectrum being low on their vitamins.
Okay.
So we have some very good biochemic combinations which work well for kids. So especially if kids are anemic, there are some fabulous combinations which are all naturally occurring substances which are used in preparation of these homeopathic medicines. So that's one area which I've seen good progress. I've also seen good progress with uh, you know uh, one is anemia, the other is low muscle tone.
Okay.
Again, I've had some patients who've had very bad low muscle
Right.
tone, and when you've supported with that biochemic combination and with the constitutional remedy going hand in hand, that has actually helped the tonicity of the muscle get better and better. And of course, you have to assist that with an autist. I mean, you
Right.
can't move away from that therapy. But when everything goes in together, you're able to see good results. Yeah.
Okay. So, I have, I want to ask you, why is it that homeopathy, a lot of people kind of hesitate to take
Yeah.
homeopathy just because they feel that it's going to take so much time. It's going to really take so much time that by the time we see some sort of results, it's going to be, next year or something like that.
Right.
Why does that happen? Why is it? I mean, so of course, because we live in this age where we want quick fix
Everything's got to
solutions.
be quick.
Yeah, so if I have a headache, I would rather just pop a crocin than take whatever the homeopathic equivalent of that is, which would kind of treat it. And then I'd have to live with that headache for 8 hours as opposed to just 20 minutes, which is what the time the crocin, in how much time the crocin will kind of react.
Yeah.
Why is this concept of time? What is it that the homeopathy is working on, and why is it taking so much time? And I think because of that, a lot of people kind of debunk it, right? I mean, they're all saying, "Oh, it's not something which is really going
They're
to
full of questions. Yeah.
right."
Yeah. So I have seen that, when
Yeah,
patients come in, they often ask me that, doc, how is it that, you're going to help us with so many things, and how
right.
is it one little thing going to work?
Huh.
So, help. So I would say that, it's not really a quick fix. So if
Okay,
you're looking for a quick fix, it's not something that you should be going in for. And again, understanding chronic issues or chronic complaints, they've been with you for a long period of time. Now, can you imagine the kind of detox the system has to go through in order to completely get away from it? So
right,
I have had patients with living with psoriasis and eczemas and different kind of skin ailments which have they've been going on and on for years
right,
together. In fact, some of them, beginning right from their childhood years. But when we've started the homeopathic medicine on, then after taking a complete case history, the first thing that they observe is that it further stops spreading. So there is a
right,
pause at that spread, and then slowly, with, of course, it's a bit long standing, but gradually and slowly you start to see results, and the
right,
improvements are very good. And then I've had patients coming in and saying that they've not had this complaint for many years after they were treated. So it's like, really going down to that core level and getting out of it. So it does take time. But
right,
yes, there are also a lot of myths about homeopathy, that it cannot be taken for acute ailments, and it's not so effective as modern medicine. But
right.
that's not true. I've had, like, for my own self, I've had headaches, and I've popped a my homeopathic combination, and I have done in 15-20 minutes, I'm feeling so much better. So again, the headache, why did the headache come in? It's very important to inquire into that. So if
Right,
it's a stress induced headache, we know what remedy to give. And when
right,
you work on at that level, you see results. But if you're just looking at fixing the headache
huh,
with just something like a SOS, it's not so effective.
right. So you take absolutely no allopathic medicine.
No. I mean, in times when things are really bad and it's difficult to manage, and with kids and work and all of that, sometimes
You
yes,
do.
I have to
Okay.
resort
But it's
to
mostly homeopathy.
yeah, yeah, of
Okay,
course. My kids
okay.
have also been purely on homeopathy, and it's wonderful to see how beautifully the immune system has stayed so well guarded because of a good homeopathic combination.
Okay, lovely. So I wanted to ask you that I believe you have some very exciting news that you want to share
Yes.
about what your plans are. So will you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. So I just started with this. Virtually, I launched my Path to Wellbeing Clinic, which is
Okay.
again a space which I wanted to introduce to help people, not just children on the spectrum, but even adults and kids and teenagers, with really looking at the well-being aspect. Not
Right.
just looking at curing those symptoms. And at this space, I truly believe that you need to look at your a complete self. You shouldn't be just focusing on taking that one remedy and fixing that one issue,
Right.
but looking at an overall feeling of well-being. So that's when I started posting a lot of informative posts on my Instagram and my Facebook page, where I talk about just not how homeopathy works, but also a lot of home remedies which can be taken with homeopathy, which can
Right.
support the treatment,
Okay.
and alternatives to how you can help that particular ailment. So that's been a great progress. And I have seen people coming back and saying, you know what, I tried that one tip and it worked really well. So it was good. So then I decided to bring it all in a space where I could have everything in one place. So just like a one-stop place where my patient will be supported completely. That patient doesn't have to go to 10 different people, especially if they are differently able kids who
Right.
need a lot of support and treatments and therapies. So I want to bring in all of it in one under one roof. And again, the core thing being looking at it more holistically and looking at it, working on the kids with more natural supplements, more natural home remedies and things like that, and not really resorting to only modern medicine to help those kids. And I'm also looking at working with mums exclusively, because I've seen in my practice, mums, once they find out the diagnosis of their kids, or even kids with dyslexia, or who are differently abled,
Right.
it's so much of stress and trauma that the mother goes through. And in fact, even parents, how
Right.
much they really have to struggle and kind of come down to that right place or that right therapy that will fit for their child.
Right.
And I don't want them, going to 20 people and then feeling completely confused. And everybody seems so promising these days. So really building on awareness, talking about what really can you expect from these therapies, really showing them what is actually going to work and what's not going to work, and how the parent has to really work on the child. So focusing on those aspects, I've decided to launch my clinic here at Narman Point in Mumbai, and I'm really excited. It's all coming up together. So yeah, and I'm hoping to see you there soon,
Sounds
Gopika.
lovely. It sounds really amazing. Before we go, just one last kind of a question and or something that you can share with
Sure.
all the people listening to this about any one child whom you worked with, which stands out to you, any child on the spectrum who really started the homeopathy, and how the kind of progress or change that you saw in this child. Any child that comes to your mind.
Okay, sure. So this is a very sweet boy that came to me. He was about 4 years old, and he had typical, symptoms that you see in an autistic kid,
Right.
and a lot of low self-esteem, no confidence, no eye contact, absolutely no eye contact, very bad sleep issues, mother struggling also because she wouldn't get
Right.
her sleep, and it
Of
was
course.
just a very stressful time for the parent and the child. And the child also not really being able to do effective work with his hands, so even the fine motor
Right.
skills were affected. And what I did with this child is, after I took down the entire case history, I came down with that one homeopathic remedy which I thought suited him the best. I gave him that, and along with this, I supported a lot of his behavioral issues that he had. He had a lot of this rocking and too much of hyperactivity,
Right.
and the mother couldn't really deal with it and get him down to sit down and really do something with him.
Right.
Even eating meals was a big challenge. So when after I gave him the homeopathic remedy, I also considered giving him batch flower remedies, which are very beautiful flower extracts, which are given in medicine form. And uh, they are so holistic. I mean, they look at the complete emotional and the mind, in totality, and look
Right.
so much in depth of how to, really work on those behavioral issues. And after giving a few doses, the mom came back and said, you know what, we both slept well. So that was like my first big win.
Right.
And it's like up, gradually and very gently, the child started to sit down, have better sitting tolerance, eye contact got better. Of course, this was the same child who was also supported with a lot of speech therapy and
Right.
OT.
Of course.
But but a lot of the gut started to feel better, so he was eating well, his behaviors almost vanished after a few years of the treatment. And now he's what he's about 10 years old, and he's absolutely, he can sit with you, have a conversation. Of course, some traits are still existing,
Right.
but it's a beautiful uh, communication that I have with him now. And I think that's very important. Another thing that Bachelor does is it really works on the trauma the child has gone through, whether
Right.
it's during the birthing process or during conceiving time, while the mom had certain emotional issues. So all of that gets taken care of.
Oh,
So a bachelor in homeopathy, and with a good home remedy to help with certain, things like here and there, like acidity, or maybe the
right.
child has a little bit of a cold and cough or whatever. That kind of a combination, I've seen really good results instead of just giving that one remedy.
Okay, that's lovely. Great. Thank you so much. I learned a lot today. I really,
Yeah.
I'm very inspired to start using homeopathy myself for myself.
I
But
hope it does.
yeah, so great. That's lovely. All the very, very best for your new venture. I think we need more and more places like this. So I'm really glad that you're starting something like this, and I wish you all the luck in it. So thank you so much for being part of this, and I'm sure people who are listening to it will also have learned a lot about homeopathy and how it really, really impacts.
Yeah, I really do.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much. Thanks
Thank
so much.
you. Bye.
Bye.